Be inspired by everyday people and household names
who share their struggles, uplifting stories, and insights
with courage and authenticity,
empowering individuals
and the collective
to enhance our health,
expand our horizons,
and treasure the moments of our lives.
I'm Patty Teal.
And I'm Anthony Giannini.
Welcome to Everyday Enlightenment. Welcome to Everyday Enlightenment. I'm here with my amazing co-host, Anthony Giannini. How are you today, Anthony?
I'm doing amazing today. Thank you, Patty.
You
are an amazing host.
Thank you. And you are always doing good. When I ever ask you how you're doing, it's just like, I am wonderful. I am blessed. I just love that about you. So thank you for having such positive energy.
I try my hardest every day. And it
You
sure
do.
helps when I have a great show called Everyday Enlightenment that brings me positive messages on the weekly.
And we have really inspirational guests, and this one is a longtime friend of yours. So let me introduce her. Her name is Laurie Micah, and she's an inspirational author and artist, which means she receives the ideas for her artwork and writing in powerful downloads or fully formed ideas that she sees in her mind. That sounds so cool. She believes these concepts are inspired from her higher self, universal consciousness, God, and her spirit team. Laurie began receiving communication from the other side in 2012 when her soulmate Mark passed away, confirming her belief that love never dies. Anthony, you have more to tell us about her, I know.
And now with her book, Signs Surround You, Love Never Dies, she hopes to share her signs with the world. And as a complementary to that as well, she hopes to hear signs from others too.
Welcome, Laurie. It's so great to have you here today.
Thank you for having me, Patty and Anthony.
So I know that you have a new book called Signs Surround You, Love Never Dies. Now, how did that come about?
Well, I had an amazing relationship with a man who was probably what I would consider to be my greatest spiritual teacher. But the relationship was very complicated. He came into my life at a time when I was vulnerable in my marriage. And we decided to part ways because the timing was not optimal for either of us. And we hadn't spoken for 3 years. And one day I just had this knowing that he died, and found out about 3 hours later it was true. He had died at the concert. He was a lead guitarist for the band Starship. And after he died, he began sending me music signs, all kinds of signs to let me know he was around. And I originally just documented them for myself. And one day, shortly after his 2-year anniversary of his death, he came to me in a dream and told me he was most proud of our story. And that next morning, the book literally began to pour out of me. I would transcribe what was coming to me, and it ultimately turned into this incredible book. The first part is the story of our journey, and the second part is the story of all of the amazing signs he sent me over the 2-year period after he died. And the purpose really is to help people understand that by reading my story, they can see how the signs work for me, and hopefully then they can begin to understand their own signs.
That is so cool. I know that we all lose loved ones during our lifetime, whether it's your mother or a sibling, and we just pray, oh, if only I could get a message that they're doing okay. Did you have a period of grief before the messages started coming where you felt some relief?
No, when he died, it was a complete shock because even though we hadn't spoken for 3 years, there wasn't a day I didn't think about him. Not that my thoughts were always good because we weren't together anymore, but he was definitely deeply in my heart. And the death hit me so hard because he was only 46 years old. You don't expect somebody to die of a heart attack at the age of 46 who seemed to be very healthy. So it was a very big shock. And I think that I never grieved the ending of our relationship because I never really believed it was over. I thought we'd kind of push the pause button, and maybe later, like this time in my life, you know, in my 50s, maybe he would come back together and we would have had a relationship and had a chance to explore being together. So it was a huge grief period, and I began searching. I had already been on a spiritual journey for many years, but that's when I really buckled down and began reading everything I could get my hands on, every medium book who talked about, connecting with people after death. And I'd already had my own beautiful medium experiences prior to his death, but his signs began the day he died. They didn't wait. It wasn't as if I had to get
Wow.
through the grief period. They were
Mm-hmm.
immediate. And I think one of the most significant signs that happened early on for me that really made me believe, hey, this is happening, this is going on, was that 4 days after he died, I got in my car and I turned it on, and the Starship song With Your Love was playing on XM radio. And I thought that was amazing. But when the song ended, the screen didn't change. It stayed frozen with that song title. And it didn't matter what station I changed to, AM, FM, other XM radios, it didn't erase. Now I'm a believer in all of these things, and I realized it was probably happened, but there's a skeptical part of me also. I didn't just take all of this as gospel that it was really true. I actually called XM radio and asked them to reset my radio, and they did, and it still didn't clear it. I even ran 2 errands completely, turning my car off and turning it back on, and that message was still there until I got to my friend's house for lunch. She came out to see the car screen. She waved and said, "Hi, Mark." And after that, it was gone.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
a woman who's determined to find out what these signs are, calling customer service,
I had to wait
showing your
45
friends,
minutes.
am I crazy? What is going on?
Yeah,
That's
because you
really
want to
writing a new.
believe, but you want to believe, but at the same time, you're like, is there a logical explanation for this? Because people are going to ask you and question what you're seeing, and so I needed to determine that there wasn't anything logical. It truly was a spiritual experience.
We
I
can
love
we can
that
call
story.
that kind of logic heart logic, something you really feel deep inside your soul that you know to be true.
I love that, Anthony. That's
I love
great.
that too. And I always laugh because I think sometimes my signs have to be so obvious for me to notice them. They almost have to hit me in the face, but you can kind of be alert to signs too and be
Yeah,
watching for them. I love that that one was so obvious. Obviously, he really wanted to get your attention.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. You're
But
right.
not as obvious as some of the double signs you've encountered.
Yes. I've had a lot of things that are so significant that without a doubt that it's not an accident. I've had a series of, I mean, Mark has been gone now. It'll be 8 years in September, so it's been a while, but he is still around me all the time. He's come through in multiple medium readings. But over this last year, I went through an experience of him freezing the radio with whatever song was playing and taking the song Hold the Line by Starship or by Toto and playing that over the existing radio. So the radio said it was playing one song, but this song was playing. And the reason that Toto song was so significant is the last time I saw him alive, he played in a concert where he played with Toto, with Jimmy Kimmel, the lead singer, and they sang 4 Toto songs, and that was one of them. So he's taken over my radio screen 15 times in the last about
Wow.
13 months with that special sign. So it's kind of an unmistakable thing. You can't deny spirits coming through when they've taken your radio station and played a song that wouldn't even be played on the station that it's coming through on.
Wow.
Yeah,
And I love when you sent us some information that you included a quote by Dr. Raymond Moody. I have actually interviewed him as well and heard him
amazing.
speak, and he's a skeptic as well. But
Yeah,
it seems so irrefutable when he puts it together. And in his book and in his speaking engagements, I was not a believer, but it's just so obvious. And all the people that he's talked to over the years, he's certainly a believer, but he didn't start out that way. He was a skeptic.
absolutely. And I feel very blessed that he has actually endorsed my book and talked about it. And yeah, it's great company to be in with someone who sold 20 million copies of their own book and actually was the founder, the father founder of the term near-death experience.
That's right. That's right. He's a very cool gentleman, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Hey, Anthony, have you gotten, I'm sure you have, you're such an evolved young man. You've gotten signs from people that have passed on?
Well, I can say that I know somebody in my family who is personally receiving signs from a loved one at this moment, even. It's very recent for him. And I know that Laurie's story will be very inspirational for him. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to share Laurie's story with my loved ones. And I've seen the process with my loved ones who have lost people and their grieving process, and it's unimaginable. And to see these signs while we are feeling such grief is really amazing and inspirational, and definitely leads us into a new paradigm. So Laurie, I imagine, even though maybe you were on a spiritual journey or you were somewhat of a believer before, now you must be living in a completely different world versus
Yeah.
8 years ago.
Yeah, I actually say I have a very mystical life because not only did Mark inspire this book, but very shortly after he died, I was trying to connect with him through a medium. And I kept getting canceled by this particular woman. And after the third cancellation, a friend suggested I see somebody who's an energy healer. And I'm like, I don't even know what an energy healer is. But I decided to go and talk to her, and I recorded the session. And she gave me some very healing messages from Mark. And she also gave me some very healing messages about my own heart. She told me that I was nothing but pure love and I needed to hold the space for the love. And she said all these mantras together in a row. And one day when I was listening to her recording on a walk, in my mind, I saw this image of these hearts flying. They were two very large hearts. And it was like one had all of these banners on it that said all of these things that she was telling me. And the other heart was needing to let go of these mantras that they were telling itself that didn't really belong, that weren't serving the greater good for the soul. And I felt compelled to paint this painting. I'm not a trained artist, but I spent 2 days creating this. And after that, almost every day I would get an idea that would pop into my mind about some subject related to love, inspiration, empowerment. And I decided to paint 40 paintings in 40 days. I don't know why. It seemed like 30 was not enough and 50 was too many. And every day I would sit down and paint one of these paintings. And as I was getting closer to the 40th painting, I realized that last painting was going to land on Mark's birthday. No way I could have planned that in advance, but it was just such an inspirationally mystical experience. And ultimately, over a 4-year period, I painted 400 of these flying hearts with these inspirational messages that I paired with what I call a soul whisper. And I've been publishing them since 2013 online, and they have a very large following. And I know that they've helped millions of people, mostly women, but of course it applies to everybody. And it's our soul whispers to us, and it wants us to be on the path that we designed for ourselves. It wants us to live our best life. And I think that we all need those reminders because life is hard.
Wow, that must make you feel so good, very gratifying to be able to help so many people. I have to share a little story about my brother after my mom died. I've long been a believer in messages from the other side, but he really was very skeptical. He just couldn't quite imagine it. And I said, well, he was very close to our mom. I said, she'll find a way, she'll find a way. And he used to give her snow babies. I don't know if you know what they are, but
Yeah,
these yes.
yeah.
And every Christmas, that was one of his gifts to her. And she had this whole collection in a curio cabinet. And he ended up getting those snow babies. And so I guess she couldn't reach him any other way, but she found a way to start moving those snow babies around.
That's
And he
incredible.
just, he was like, who did that? He tried to set up even cameras, keep an eye out, but they just kept rearranging. I said, well, she found a way, didn't she, to let you know that she's still there with you. So,
Absolutely. We're all
mm,
energy beings, so it makes sense to me because if you think about the veil, it's very slim between us and the other side, and they're energetic beings and they're able to manipulate energy to give us different signs. Some people get signs through lights turning on and off. Other
mhm.
people like me have songs with signs. And some people find feathers or find money. There's just not a limitation to the creative ways that spirit can use to get our attention to speak to us in our language.
Right. And
So I love your
dreams.
snow baby example. It's a perfect example of speaking
Yeah.
to somebody in their language, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I just have a curiosity, and I don't even know if you know the answer to this or if there is an answer. I'm sure there is. But what about, I wonder, because a friend of mine whose sister died very tragically, and actually I helped her search for the body. She fell off a horse and washed down a river in Colorado. But
Wow.
anyway, her sister comes to her, but she used to come to her more. And I wonder if at some point they get reincarnated, or if there's multiple dimensions, they can always contact you, or if there comes a time when they have other things that they're doing.
Well, that's interesting. So, from what I understand and everything that I've studied over the last 20 plus years about this, I I've had some experiences similar to what you would call like a near-death experience, and
Hmm.
I've experienced the energy on the other side. And what I can tell you about our soul is that our soul is immensely powerful. It's gigantic. And for us as a soul to come into this body, it's as if we take the energy in the fingernail of our little finger to bring into this body. And a lot of our soul energy and essence remains on the other side. So it really
Oh.
wouldn't matter, I don't think, if somebody reincarnated or if they had other jobs to do. I
Hmm.
do believe we always have access while we're still incarnated in this earthly body to our loved ones on the other side. It could be that she's just not as aware right now. She could be blocked energetically. I think that a lot of the ability of spirit to contact us has to do with our own vibration. And as we go through different experiences in our life, sometimes we do things that changes our vibration or lowers it. So that could have something to do with it. Or it could be that, she's just evolved enough that maybe she doesn't need it as often. I'm not
Oh.
sure.
Hmm. So interesting. Do you have
It's
tips
all
for? Go ahead, Anthony.
it's all relative, I guess, it just depends on what you believe. But I believe at the truest level, it's verifiable by personal experience. And I just thought of the ancestral religions of many indigenous cultures from around the world. Most notably, I'm thinking of the Japanese Shinto religion and how they worship their ancestors, or they connect with their loved ones from beyond the grave. And they see the spirit as eternal and transient, kind of moving in and out of this life very freely, as if our life is a revolving door. So I think what Laurie is saying is, when we clear our mind and we focus, or we feel that connection, we can connect with the other side.
Right. And sometimes it feels like it's not really a focus, but not to contradict, but for me anyway, it's more letting yourself have that space to receive. Do you have tips for people? Because we all have loved ones who are on the other side, and we so want to have a connection with them. What are your tips for people?
Well, I think one of the things, there are some things that I've noticed how signs will increase around me. My ability to notice them is a lot of times largely dependent on my state of mind. So there are a few things that I do to really concentrate on raising my vibration. So we have different emotions that cause us to either vibrate at a higher rate or a lower rate. So for example, when we're very happy, when we're grateful, when we're in our heart space and we are bringing a lot of love into our life, we tend to raise our vibration. When we become scared, like in the climate that we're in right now, and we become nervous and we take our energy and focus and we watch a lot of news or watch a lot of negative things happening in the world, I think that has the ability to actually lower our vibration. Or even through things like grief and sadness, which you may or may not have control over based on circumstances going on in your life, your vibration kind of, moves up and down in different ways. The more you can do to live in your heart space, to stay in the present moment, and to increase your vibration through these elevated emotions of gratitude, love, inspiration, the easier it will be for you to notice the things around you. And that's really what it is. It's the openness and the ability to notice, to just take notice.
Hmm. Right. And being out
That's
in
a
nature. Yeah.
that's a good point, Laurie. I think just by being aware, there are so many things that we notice in our daily life, but also there are so many things that we don't notice, and we can
Right.
always notice more, no matter how much we notice or don't notice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's kind of funny to say. We could always notice more.
You're reminding me of when I was writing Signs Surround You. Like I said, I'm a big music person. Music's in my life all the time. I was astonished at how many times I would hear a song because I had named every chapter after a song. I could be on a business trip in Cincinnati. I could be walking through the airport parking lot, and a song chapter from my book, and oftentimes even the song chapter that I was currently working on, would play somewhere outside of my own music on my phone. I expect to hear those songs from my own music, but I don't expect to hear it when I walk into the grocery store.
Wow.
Just it just proves that signs really do surround us.
They do. They
Mhm.
really do.
Right.
We've got you surrounded.
Do you feel that you and Mark have had many lives together as soulmates?
Yes, we are not only soulmates, but there's a twin flame aspect to our relationship.
Oh, hmm.
And I was told about maybe 2 or 3 years after he died. It was interesting. There was a woman who is an angel connector, and my sister called me one day and told me I needed to schedule a reading with her. So I did. And then I found out a week later that Mark's mom independently had been searching on the internet for somebody who was a medical intuitive and had found the same woman that I was having a reading with. And we wound up having our scheduled reading an hour apart from each other
Oh
on the
my
same day.
goodness.
So
Ah,
there's no way in my mind that we could have both been sent to this woman independently in those circumstances unless it was directed by spirit. So this woman to me has a lot of credibility in the messages she said. And she said that Mark had a very difficult time when our relationship ended. And part of the energy of him almost chose to leave because he knew we had spiritual work to do together that he could only help me with from the other side.
oh, that's fascinating.
Isn't that crazy? That's kind of a
Yeah,
wild
kind of
thing to think about,
gives you
right?
goosebumps. Absolutely.
Yeah, and
So,
if you think about all we've created since he died, I mean, 400 paintings, millions of people read with these messages. A lot of them were sayings that he personally would use, like stand in your truth. What's true for you is true for you.
yeah.
And then having a book come to me and people being able to connect with the signs so that they could help see their own signs from their own loved ones. Because I think the ultimate message in all of this, Anthony and Patty, is that our loved ones never leave us. They love us. They're involved in our lives. Every time you have a thought about your loved ones, they hear it. There's nothing left unsaid. And I think one of the hardest things when somebody dies, whether you were planning on their death because they had a long illness or whether they were tragically taken without any warning, we always have this little part of us that thinks, I didn't say everything I wanted to say to that person. I didn't get to say goodbye in the way I would have wanted to say it. But we do because we're energy beings. They hear us, they love us, and they want us to know that not only are they okay, but they still love us despite the fact that they're not physically here with us on this earth anymore.
Hmm, that's so sweet. And it's so, oh, I don't even know the word for it, but it just makes you feel so good to know that your loved ones are still with you. And I know one of the things I plan to do later today is to get quiet and listen more to see if I can get connected
That's
with
a great
my
way to do it.
parents. Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
It's on a
synchronicities. Yeah. Go ahead, Anthony. I'm a talker, so I have to pull back.
Well, it's an unbelievable story, Laurie, and truly inspirational. And I'm so happy to hear that you've already reached so many people through your soul, heart, art messages.
Thank you.
And since we're on video here, I'd like to share the screen of soulheartart.com, which is Laurie's blog with her soul, heart, art. So you can see my screen now. And this is soulheartart.com. Please don't take my word for it. go there, experience it for yourself.
So I
We
built
have
that website in 2013. It's a little dated, but there's so much content. It's been difficult to change it. I think the majority of people connect with me on my Facebook page, which is Soul Heart Art on Facebook. That's where I regularly post. I post usually 1 to 2 Soul Heart Art paintings with the Soul Whispers a week. And actually, I'm going to share this with you guys. You guys are getting an exclusive because these are on Amazon, but I haven't fully released them because we've been editing. But I have just created 8 Soul Heart Art books, and each one is a little different topic. So for example, this one is Whispers of Friendship and Inspiration, but there are 8 of them: Whispers of Love, Whispers from the Soul, Whispers of Empowerment, Whispers of Encouragement to Love Again. And they each have 40 Soul Heart Art pictures, paintings in them, and a little soul whisper. So I think that it'll be a nice little gift to give to somebody, or a nice little reminder to help you keep your vibration high and remember that your soul speaks to you and gives you messages so that you can have the life that you really desire to attain.
Oh, I love those, Laurie. And what strikes me is, you could have that as a gift for all ages. You could be elderly, you could be middle-aged, you could be young, or even a child could enjoy the beautiful pictures and the simplicity of the messages. Simple but very deep.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. They would connect to anybody who read them could connect.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
Thank you.
So, people send you stories. Have you been inspired by some of their stories, and how do they do that?
Yeah, I actually have a book. There are going to be two books that continue The Signs Surround You, Love Never Dies. One that I'm getting ready to publish this year, and then another one that I'm also in the process of writing, where I have created stories, because as people read my book, they often reach out to me and tell me about a story that happened to them that was inspirational and proved to them that Spirit's talking to them through signs. So yes. Yeah, I've received lots of them.
Oh, that's wonderful. And Anthony and I are so excited that you're starting your own podcast, and it's going to be called Powerful Soul, which is a beautiful title for it. And August 12th is your launch date. Have you planned what the format is going to be like?
Yeah, so my intention is to use my own artwork as my inspiration for my podcast. Every time I talk about a topic, not only do I create a soul whisper for it, but I write a backstory to explain to people what the inspiration and what the idea and how they can kind of expand on that. I talk a lot about love, self-love, empowerment, about how powerful our thoughts are, because our thoughts, good or bad, actually create our world. I talk about gratitude and happiness and friendship. So Powerful Soul is really not about me. Powerful Soul is about you. Powerful Soul is about the fact that you are an amazingly beautiful, powerful soul. And I don't think you can even fathom in this human body the power of your own soul. You literally have the ability to create anything you want in any way that you want to create it. So my podcast is going to be all about these different spiritual aspects. I'll talk about the soul's vibration and maybe give you hints and things I've done to help raise my own vibration. I'll share stories about signs that will empower and inspire you. We'll talk about how your thoughts are really your superpower that determine everything that happens to you in your life, and how if your thoughts aren't serving you, I'll give you ideas and ways that you can help change that so that you can have the life that you dream of. So it's all about you and increasing the power of your soul to help you achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. And that's been my message all along with the Soul Heart Art paintings. It's all about empowerment.
That's what I love about you, Laurie, and your message, because the message is all about its application. And for you, all of your messages are very applicable to right now. I don't have to wait to apply your message.
I love that. Thank you, Anthony.
Well, thank you, and congratulations. I can't wait to tune into your podcast.
Oh boy, me too. And I've got to get that book as well. We didn't mention your successful career as a businesswoman and how that probably helps you to get your message out. But do you find any problems with integrating your wonderful soul and intuition when you're working on left brain projects, if that makes any sense.
No, it's funny, and that's actually a good point. I feel like almost my career gives me credibility in the sense that
Mm-hmm.
I am very left brain. I mean, I have worked for Pfizer. I was a pharmaceutical sales rep for 14 years, or for 7 years. I sold 14 drugs. I had to talk to urologists and pulmonologists. And, you know, there's a lot of credibility that goes into talking about these very difficult medical, these drugs and these medical conditions. And then I transitioned into working for IBM and selling multi-million-dollar deals and dealing with IP and all of these executives and these very difficult to understand technologies, you know, around security and data protection. And that's what I do in my everyday job. Even now, I travel a lot for work. I think that it's a balance. I think everything in life is a balance. So it's good to have all of these experiences, but then it's also good to be grounded and understand from a practical standpoint where most people come from. Not everybody is open to science. For a lot of people, you know, that might happen upon my podcast or my Soul Heart Art, they may not have ever been exposed to these ideas. And it's good to have a combination of both. So to me, all of the things that I do on the inspirational aspect is allows me to stay in my heart space. And then the job is, you know, just a part of me that I have that allows me to do all of these things without monetizing it, really. So everything, all of the paintings that I've done, the book, it has never been about making money on them. It's all about helping people. And so one side has really funded the other side. The only
Right.
thing that's difficult for me is that I do a lot. I mean, it takes a lot to produce all of these things, to have a social media presence, to create a podcast, to continually put these things out into the world, to write these books, to edit them, all of that. And the thing that tends to go is sleep. I made a deal with myself when I moved to Arizona 5 years ago that I would try to get more sleep, because that was usually the first thing that would go for me. I would function on 5 or 6 hours. I think it's really important to have 7 hours of sleep, and I try to do that. So it's a balance. Everything's a juggling act, and everybody's busy. It's just that, what do you spend your time doing? I don't spend a lot of my time in watching TV or doing those other things. I take that time and use it for the artwork and the inspirational aspect of my life.
Wow, that's
And
a great answer.
you're also a
Good.
mother of two, and you're an avid hiker. And I know you don't sleep in because you're up hiking at the early hours of the morning.
Yeah, it's sometimes a challenge, but I do hike. I climb a mountain almost every single day, and I trail run. I've spent a lot of time in the Grand Canyon, and nature's really my place for healing. I joke around about, I use the exercise so that I can eat whatever I want, because I'm a foodie who loves food. But truly, for me, I don't feel right if I don't get to spend some time in nature, and especially spending time with my dog in nature. And there's a healing aspect to that probably is what allows me to be able to produce a book, to be able to create a painting. I don't think I could do all those things if I wasn't making the time, and it is truly making the time. I don't like to get up at 5:30 in the morning to do it, especially it's so hot in the morning in Arizona too, but I feel like I have to do it. It's my own sanity check.
That's such a good reminder. And your dog sounds like he's your best friend. Storm, tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about Storm.
Storm is 11 years old, and
Mhm.
I've had her since she was a puppy. And I think that our pets are the best example we have on this planet of unconditional love. They vibrate at a high energy. They love you no matter what. And anytime that I am thinking about love in a way that doesn't serve me, I am directed back towards the unconditional love that she provides for me every day. She is such a blessing, and I just can't imagine my life without her.
Oh,
What is your
I,
dog's name?
Storm.
Storm. Yeah. I have three dogs but my Ollie, it's almost like he's my soulmate. I always tell him all the time, you are my best friend. But he's a little bit of a Velcro dog. He does go with me everywhere.
Love it. A Velcro dog. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But I just adore him and that unconditional love. And I don't know why, because actually he was supposed to be my daughter's dog, but he fell deeply in love with me. And so he became my dog and she got a different one. So that's
Yeah.
it.
And I think that we're soul connected through our animals for sure. I've been
Hmm.
told that Storm is a very ancient soul, and her purpose is to really support me in this lifetime. And I believe it.
Yeah. When you do your writing, Lori, do you feel like you're channeling?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I'll tell you this story because I think this is really kind of a cool thing that happened to me. When I was writing Signs Surround You, I was on a business trip with IBM in Las Vegas. And Las Vegas has a beautiful national park called Red Rock National Park. And I was on this hike. I had hiked out about 5 miles, and I sat in this beautiful place. It's like an oasis in the desert. And I was writing a portion of my book, and then it was time to go. I knew I had to be back for a dinner. And I was hiking back, and all of a sudden, the chapter about Mark's death came into my mind in a fully formed idea. It's not like you can actually chase an idea to understand if it's yours. Like, you see there's an example I give in my book about how you see you go to a Cat Stevens concert, and you see a cat, you remember you went to a Cat Stevens concert, you remember the person that you went to had a new car, and you think to yourself, I need to get a new car. You can trace that new car
Oh,
thought back
almost
to
like
your
a
original thought.
dream. Yeah.
Yeah, but anybody can do that. But for me, when a thought comes in that's not mine, I can't trace it anywhere. I was not there when Mark died. I knew from other people, his family and other people who were around him, how he died and what happened. But his death scene chapter was put in my mind, and I carried it for 3 miles back to my car. And when I
Wow.
got in my car, it was 100 degrees because it was in the summer, in June of in Las Vegas, and I turned the car on and I started writing it out really quickly in my car. And I had the thought to change the radio station to a different one. I was listening to XM radio. I didn't do it, but the radio station changed itself. And it changed to the bridge. And at that moment, the beginning notes of the song Miracles began playing. Miracles is a Starship song. It is my all-time favorite song. That song is the entire reason I ever encountered and was able to meet Mark. And it has been a winding thread through my story. It is played more times than could be statistically considered an average playing of that song. And it has kind of been the theme between he and I. So for the radio to change itself because I wasn't touching anything, and to play the song Miracle from the beginning note as I'm writing the chapter about his death scene, there is no doubt in my mind that things are channeled. No doubt.
Right. And since he's a musician, it's understandable that the messages would come in a form that involves beautiful music.
And not only music, but music he played. He probably played that song 500 times over the 14 years he was with that band.
Wow. Mm.
Hmm.
That's a cool story, Laurie, because not only is it a personal, someone who means something so much to you personally who you lost,
Yeah.
but actually Mark was a very well-known guitarist for the band Starship. So I know a
Yeah.
lot of people might want to hear about a rock star from beyond the grave. And also, since I've been following your story, I've been listening to a lot of good music.
Oh, cool. Well, one of the things that I did that I don't know if this is a common thing, it was just kind of, it came to me when I was writing the book, because every chapter is named for a song. I actually created a Spotify playlist to go along with the book. So you go to a music and you can buy a soundtrack to a movie, and now you can buy my book and have a soundtrack that you can listen to for free. So even if you don't buy my book, there's a soundtrack called Signs Surround You, Love Never Dies that you can search on Spotify, and you can listen to the music from the book for free.
Wow.
And I'm doing the same thing with the next book that I have coming out this year.
Well, that makes it very unique. I just absolutely love that. And both Anthony and I are music lovers, and he's a great composer and sound healer as well.
Yes, yes, he is.
Yes,
Yes, he
yes.
is.
So I don't know, Anthony, if you have any burning questions. We want to make sure we get Laurie's contact information so people can visit her website. They might want to email her, contribute their stories. But first, is there anything else you wanted to ask, Anthony?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Laurie. And this was a great preview and kind of teaser for what we can expect with your new podcast, which I'm personally really excited for. And I can't wait to see you kind of grow your own following, your own community, your own message. And so please, can you share some personal information about how our listeners can contact you, what they can expect, and then maybe share a positive message with us?
Okay, sure. So you can connect with me multiple ways. I do have my own website, lauriemicah.com, and Anthony can put the information underneath this video. It is chock full of information. You can look at a sample of my book, Signs Surround You, so you can read a few chapters for free. You can also connect with me through Facebook, through my my Soul Heart Art page. I also have an Instagram page, which is also called Laurie Micah. On that page, I share little snippets from my book for inspiration, and then I also share the Soul Whisper that I'm publishing elsewhere. I have an email list, so you can sign up if you would like to just have those Soul Whisper messages delivered right to you, so you don't have to search for them anywhere. So you can sign up for that. Anthony showed you my Soul Heart Art page as well. So there are a lot of places that you can connect with me. And please, I do have a contact page on my lauriemicah.com. I would love to hear any special signs that you would like to share. If you have a story that you think could be created, it could be included in my next book, I would love to hear from you. And then, of course, the next big thing coming out for me is the podcast, Powerful Soul.
Yay!
So I encourage you to join me. I'll be launching 4 episodes to start so that you can kind of have a sampling. The first one will be a little bit more about my story. So people who haven't connected with me through Patty here or other places may not know the story, so I'll talk about that. But after that first story, I really don't want the podcast to be about me. The podcast is about you. The podcast is about messages and things that you can apply to your own life so that you can create the life that you dream of.
Oh, that's going to help a lot of people. And I would like you to share the spelling of your name because some people may be listening rather than watching the video version.
Sure. So my name for my Instagram, for my website is Laurie, Laurie. The last name is Micah. It is spelled M as in Mary, AJKA.com. So lauriemicah.com. Yes.
Thank you, Laurie. And thank you, Anthony, for finding Laurie and bringing her on Everyday Enlightenment. You are amazing. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I love your show, and I appreciate all that both of you do to send amazing energy into the world. I think that's really the purpose, right?
Thank you, Laurie.
It's meant to be, Laurie. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No accidents for sure.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Everyday Enlightenment. To subscribe, listen to past episodes, or if you'd like to be featured on Everyday Enlightenment, visit hubforpodcasting.com.